Please be seated. The court is now back in session. Court officer, could you invite the witness TCW 648 and the duty counsel into the courtroom? President, good morning, witness. What is your name? Witness, good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors. My name is Sum Hao. I live in Tribe Village, Kampong Chanchung District and Kampong Thoma Province. Question, how old are you and what is your current occupation? Answer, I am 62 years old. I am chief of a village. Question, what are your parents' names? Answer, my father is Sim and my mother is Pra. Question, what is your wife's name and how many children do you have? Answer, my wife's name is Jod and we have 6 children. Thank you, Mr. Somehow, as reported by the greffier yesterday, through your best knowledge, you have no relationship by blood or by law to any of the civil parties in this case, nor through any of the 2 accused, that is, Nuon Chi and Kieu Sampon, that you already took an oath yesterday. Is this information correct? Answer, yes, it is correct. I do not have any relationship by blood through any of Nuon Chi or Kieu Sampon. Thank you. And Mr. Somehow, as a witness appearing before this chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or request for your comments that may incriminate you. This is your right against self-incrimination. And for that reason, in collaboration with Visu, the trial chamber has assigned you a duty counsel that is Mom Rati, who is sitting to your left, so that you can seek consultation with him for any question that may seek your response and that may lead to incrimination. And as a witness, it is your duty to respond to other questions put to you by any other parties or judges the bench. And you must tell the truth that you have known, have heard, or observed or experienced directly regarding the events put to you via questions. Do you understand of your right and obligation as a witness before this chamber? Answer, Your Honor. I am summoned by this chamber as a witness, and I would only tell the truth, and I have known or have heard or experienced personally. Thank you. Question. Mr. Somehow, have you been interviewed by investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges during the last few years? Answer. The investigating team interviewed me on one or two occasions. Question. Can you recall when and where? Answer. I cannot recall the exact date, but the interview took place in my house. And my apology as I cannot recall the year. President, was it 2 or 3 years ago? Answer, I cannot recall the year. The President's microphone is not on. President, thank you for reminding me. Before your appearance before this court, have you read and reviewed the written record of your interview with the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges that you said it took place on 1 or 2 occasions at your house, but that you don't recall the year? And if so, is that written record of your interview consistent with what you said at the time? Answer. I read the interview, but I cannot recall every details in that written record of interview. President, based on your review before your appearance before this court and comparing to what you said to the investigators at the time, is that written record consistent with what you said? Answer. It is up to Your Honor to question me, and I will respond truthfully. Thank you. The floor is now given to Keo Sampon's defense to put the questions to this witness before other parties in this case. And Keo Sampon's defense, together with Nuon Chia's defense, has half a day to put the questions to this witness.
The President. Correction. It was not proposed by the defense team for Mr. Keo Sampon. Instead, it was proposed by the prosecutor. For this reason, I hand over the floor to the co-prosecutor and lead co-lawyer for the civil party to put the question to the witness before any other parties. So, Mr. Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, all the parties. And good morning, Mr. Sim Hao. I am Vincent Deville, and I represent the Office of the Prosecutors. I will be putting questions to you this morning and this afternoon. Let me start with a question for purposes of clarification. You stated that you were interviewed by OCIJ investigators. Were you also interviewed earlier in early 2000 by officials of the Cambodian Documentation Center, DCCAM?
Yes, they conducted interview with me once.
Very well, thank you for this clarification. Let us now talk about your itinerary. What happened before and after the 17th of April 1975? I would propose to start with the document IS 19.177. This is a revolutionary biography of the name of the person called Som Or, alias Tat, born in Tultrak village, Kampong Chen commune, Stone district, Kampong Tom province. With the President's leave, I would like to show this revolutionary biography to the witness and have it placed on the screen as well.
The President. You may proceed. Court officer, please obtain the document from the prosecutor and hand it over to the witness for his examination.
Monsieur le témoin, je voudrais...
Mr. Witness, may I ask you to turn to page 3 of this document, which consists of a number of personal particulars, including the name. That is the previous page, Counsel. That's it. This page contains personal particulars such as the name, date of birth, place of birth of the person who wrote this biography. Mr. Witness, can you please tell us whether that is one of the biographies you wrote during the Khmer Rouge regime?
Yes, it was. This was my biography written back then.
Est-ce que vous vous souvenez?
Do you recall who asked you to write that biography at the time?
I am afraid I do not recollect.
Très bien. Je voudrais
Very well. Please turn to the previous page. There is a table on it, and it is page 2. That is immediately after the cover page. There is a second page with a number of dates. The title is Place of Work, and then that is followed by a number of dates. For the transcript, this document was translated into French, but it contains some translation errors, and I will correct them as we go along. Mr. Witness, may I ask you to look at the dates on page 2 of this biography, beginning with the 3 dates prior to the period of the 17th of April 1975. The first date is the 15th of June 1972. Against it, you see Army Attachment Battalion 306. Can you confirm to us that you joined this Battalion 306 on the 15th of June 1972?
Well, to respond to this question, I do not recall the date, but I did join the Battalion 306.
Monsieur le témoin, s'agissant
Witness, since this is your biography written at the time of democratic Cambodia, do the dates that you've indicated in this biography normally correspond to the reality? Are they real dates?
Yes, they are. I am trying to be brief. Of course, they are.
Merci. Est-ce que vous pourriez nous dire
Thank you. Please tell us why you joined the revolution, particularly Battalion 306 in 1972.
At that time, people joined armies at that time, and I was not alone. Many people joined the Khmer Rouge in order to fight against Vietnamese Yuan.
Très bien. Alors, la date.
Very well. Let us look at the next date on this biography, which you wrote at the time, and that date is the 3rd of February 1964, and it talks of Battalion 709. Were you a member of that battalion, Battalion 709?
Well, subsequently, I joined Battalion 709, that is correct. It was located somewhere in Siem Reap province.
Et la date qui suit,
And the next date, and it is difficult to read it, it is March 1975, Battalion 774. Do you recall joining that battalion, or did the name change, and what were your duties at the time?
In Battalion 709, I do not recall the date and position I held.
Est-ce que vous avez fait l'objet d'une avant
Prior to April 1975, were you ever promoted in the army, and specifically in this battalion in which you had worked? Thank you.
I have forgotten it. When I joined army, I did not hold any position. I was a rank and file soldier, was an ordinary combatant.
Juste pour clarifier les choses, je voudrais...
For purposes of clarification, let me specify what you told the co-investigating judges in your statement, and it is E3/363, and it is a statement of the 29th of October 2008. Perhaps the witness should be shown a copy of this statement in Khmer so that he can cross-check what I will read out, Mr. President.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer, please get a document from the prosecutor and hand it over to the witness.
Alors, je vous demanderai, monsieur...
May I therefore request you, witness, to look at the Khmer page? Perhaps the counsel could assist the witness. The number is 00236031. 00236031. In French, it is on page 2, and in English, it is also on page 2.
Et donc voilà la citation.
And this is what you said at the time, and I quote, "In February 1975, I was promoted deputy head of Group 1. End of quote. Do you recall having been promoted to the post of deputy head in February 1975, that is 2 months before you entered Phnom Penh?
Monsieur l'avocat, c'est la réponse à la toute première question.
And that is the answer you gave to the very first question that was put to you. In February 1975, I was promoted to the post of deputy head of Group 1. That is what you said. Is that correct, Mr. Witness?
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying this. Of course, at that time, I was promoted to the deputy head. That is correct.
Est-ce que vous pourriez nous dire...
Question. Still with regard to the period prior to April 1975, that is from the time when you joined Battalion 306 and subsequently Battalion 709, do you recall in what army you were? Was that the army of a particular zone? And if so, which zone?
Back then, our battalion was subordinate to the zone. Then when we left Kampong Thom for Phnom Penh, it was in late 1975, and I was wounded. I could not do anything. I were hospitalized the whole period.
Merci. De quelle zone?
Thank you. Which zone is that? Do you know the number of the division you belonged to at the time and who the head of that division was?
At the time, it was subordinate to North Zone. The commander of the division was Tapok. I never met him in person. I only heard his name.
Qui était le chef de votre bataillon?
Who was the head of your battalion? We know that the name changed. Who was the head of that battalion prior to April 1975? During those years prior to April 1975?
The commander of our battalion was Ta Beng. He was the commander of Battalion 709.
Merci. Pourriez-vous...
Thank you. Can you please also give us the name of the Chief of the North Zone and the Deputy Chief of the North Zone?
North Zone Chief. I actually never met him in person. His name was Thuch, and his deputy was Tapok, and he was the commander of the division.
Est-ce que vous pourriez nous dire quel est...
Can you also tell us what the discipline in the division was at the time? What was it like working in that division? Were you entitled to question any of the decisions or the policies that were supposed to be enforced in that division at the time?
In that era, to be honest with you, we were not allowed to challenge the decision of the commander. In other words, we were not entitled to question their decision. The President, Mr. Howe, please keep the document before you. Try to listen to the question as being put to you and try to respond to it based on your recollection. You should only refer to it when you need to refer to any specific portion.
Si, pouvez-vous nous donner des exemples?
Could you please tell us what would happen to any soldier who did not abide by the discipline of the division or the policies of the party? What would have happened to him or her if they did not comply with the disciplinary measures in that division?
At that time, through my observation of the practice over there, particularly through the customary practice of my commander of the battalion, nobody dare challenge the authority. The commander of the battalion was a very firm person, and he was very strict. Whatever he ordered, everyone had to comply.
En tant que membre d'un
As member of a battalion in the North Zone Army, did you take part in fighting between that army and Lon Nol's army, be it in Kampong Thom or in Siem Reap?
The fighting took place somewhere in Siem Reap province, and then later, before the liberation, on the 17th of April, we encountered another battle in Kampong Thom. Fighting erupted over there, but I do not recall the exact location. And then from that time onward, I was wounded. I could not do anything. I was sent to a place where handicapped people or the wounded were placed.
Merci pour clarifier.
Thank you for this clarification. Please also clarify this point. Were you wounded before the fall of Phnom Penh or thereafter?
Before we entered Phnom Penh, I was wounded in Srojau in Kampong Thom province. It was sometime in February 1975.
Merci. Alors,
Thank you. In your battalion and in the North Division, did you win any military victories during the period from 1973 and 1974? Were you able to liberate certain zones, certain villages?
From 1973 all the way to 1975, the status of battalion was varied according to the circumstance at the times. We moved from here, from one place to another, and we clashed with Lon Nol troops in Siem Reap. I do not recall the village where the battle took place, but I can still remember that there were many casualties, and the fierce fighting erupted at the time. I still recall, and so many casualties were the result of that fighting.
merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. But my question was whether during that period you were able to liberate certain villages, certain towns, and certain zones during that period.
At the time, we actually besieged the Siem Reap province, but as far as the liberation, at that time we did not liberate the province because there was fighting back and forth, and we could only put Siem Reap under our besiege at that time.
Merci, je vais en rester là sur ça.
Thank you. I will make do with the answers to that question. Can you tell us when you were informed of the plan to attack Phnom Penh, the plan to liberate Phnom Penh?
In the plan to liberate Phnom Penh, I only learned that we must endeavor to liberate Phnom Penh by 1975, but I did not know the detailed plan because we were still fighting at the rear at that time.
D'accord. Avant de...
Very well. Before talking about the period following the 17th of April 1975, I have some questions about the biography before you, and it is IS 19.177. I would like to read out some passages to you and put questions to you on it. The first passage is in Khmer, and the ERN is 00053,659. 00053,659, and it is on page 5 in French, and it's question 13, and the heading is personal particulars. Let me read out this question to you. Did you ever participate in work assessment meetings, and where did you do such work? In the workers' office, peasants, intellectuals, and capitalists, and the petty bourgeoisie, and monks. What did you think of this particular social milieu? That was the question, and this is what you said in writing. I worked in meetings aimed at assessing work with soldiers in the army. I worked with workers in the commerce sector in the party, because that particular milieu was the very basis of the party. So we had soldiers on the one hand and workers on the other hand. What was the status of peasants under the regime of Democratic Cambodia?
During the period of the Democratic Cambodia, as I wrote in my record, we worked with only workers. I did not work with the peasant. I never joined with peasant because they were at the rear. But I used to work with workers. First, following the liberation, they sent to Kampong Saum. We stayed there for about a year. Before I was sent back to Phnom Penh, then I was stationed at Trang Chomreh. Then they continued to send me to Ministry of Commerce. We work as worker over there. I was a laborer somewhere near Tuol Tumpung, and my main task was to prepare kapok.
Merci.
We'll come back to this after lunch. Perhaps one last question, Mr. President, before we break. It's still on this question 13 in the biography. In the way the question is asked, there is a reference to intellectuals, capitalists, petty bourgeois, and monks. Can you tell us? About what the leader of your battalion or the party leaders thought about intellectuals, capitalists, petty bourgeois, and monks.
The President, witness, please hold on. I note the National Defense Council is on his feet. You may proceed, Council Kung Sumon. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to object to this question because this witness cannot know what the leaders of that generation was doing, because this person was not in the position of knowing that, or he was not the superior of his commander. I don't think that the witness should be able to provide any opinion in relation to what the people thought at the time.
Je vais refaire.
I don't think the objection has any substance, but let's reword this. My question is to know whether your immediate superiors told you what the position was of the revolution or the revolutionary party vis-à-vis the intellectuals, capitalists, petty bourgeois and monks. In other words, you said that the military were the very salt of the party, but did the intellectuals, petty bourgeois, monks and so forth also have a role within the society of the Khmer Rouge?
I will try to answer this question based on my knowledge. At the time, for petty bourgeoisie and capitalists, bourgeoisie were intellectuals or teachers as well as Buddhist monks. And in reality, back then, there was a teacher who held the position of unit. He was working with us. Once he was summoned for an education or re-education, and then he disappeared. He never returned. Since then, we dare not talk about anything. We had to comply strictly to the party's discipline. The President, thank you, Prosecutor, and thank you, Mr. Chen Som-ao. The time is now appropriate for lunch adjournment. Mr. Som-ao, for your information, your testimony has not come to an end yet. You will have to appear again this afternoon. However, the chamber adjourns now and resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break and have him return to this courtroom before 1:30 this afternoon. And duty counsel is also invited to accompany the witness and be here before 1:30. And security guards are instructed to bring Mr. Kyew Sampon to the holding cell downstairs and have him return to this courtroom before 1:30 this afternoon. The court is now adjourned.